Dear respected teachers, dear beloved community, today is August the 10th in the year 2025, and we are in our first day of our Wake Up Retreat, The Power of Love. That's a big name, The Power of Love. And I've been reflecting on what love means, knowing that I will be offering this first Dharma Talk to all of you. And it comes back to, for me at least, in my own stories, when was it the first time I felt love? And I think each and every one of us will have a different experiment and experience in feeling what love means for us. And love is in Buddhism, love is a power. It is a source of energy that allows us to be alive, to feel. Love can be very healing, and love can also be very destructive. Our teacher always says that in love, the first element of love, to even have love, is to have understanding. If there is no understanding, that is not love. That is just a projection of love. That is just a projection of our desires. But in the teachings of Buddhism, love is an insight. And love is not just a theory, it's just not a word, but it is a reality, an experiment. I come back to my first time coming to Plum Village was in 1996. And I was only 8 years old at that time. And my father took my sister and I to Paris. And that was very exciting. But we spent only 2 days there. Then we went on a train. We arrived at Saint-Foy-la-Grande, just like all of you. And I knew that Plum Village, for my father, was very special. This is where he learned to acknowledge his pain and suffering. He was a refugee, and he was always on fight and flight mode for many years on the boat from 1987, then in the refugee camp throughout 1988, and then 89 coming to Canada as an immigrant, and then trying to bring the family over. And then in 1990, we were able to arrive to Toronto, Canada. And that was my first time meeting my father. I was born while my father was on the boat. And lucky, all the causes and conditions, our teacher, Tai, was in Toronto. And I don't know how, but my father came to a Dharma talk of his. And he said, whatever it takes, I need to go where this monk is living. And that is Upper Hamlet, where all of you are. And when he came, he stayed for 6 months. Back then, no visa, no nothing. Just illegally stayed. And it was totally fine. In today is very different. And for him, it was the beginning of arriving to oneself. And as a father, he had three elements that he wanted to offer to his children. One is having food on the table. 2 is hoping to provide a good education. And 3rd is allowing them to be in a spiritual dimension. That was his own compass of ethics. And he said, I'll open the doors for them to spirituality, And then if they like it, great. If they don't like it, I did my part. Fortunately, we loved it. But that love wasn't immediate. And it took training in a way. And I remember coming to Middle Hamlet, not this Hamlet, another Hamlet, where it was designated for all the Vietnamese during the summer retreat. So that was our summer home in finding what it means to be Vietnamese. For those of us who grew up in the West, we have an identity crisis. What does it mean to be us? What does it mean to be Asian, Vietnamese? And particularly for me, I had a banana complex, meaning I'm yellow, but around me and what looked like happiness and success was everything leaning towards being white. And that was a real intention of everything I was doing, to be acknowledged, to be seen, to be heard, to have a voice. I wanted to be a hockey player. That's like my ancestors, they don't even know how to skate. And I learned how to skate. And I learned how to play hockey. I was pretty good, but I was very small. But the idea to thrive there was this wish just to belong, to be seen, right? So then coming to Plum Village, I remember meeting kindness for the first time. It was so beautiful, but so strange. And it was almost like this feeling that, is this real? Is this true? And part of my background is growing up in a household of all of my relatives, and we're all refugees. So in a house of 3 floors, there was about 5 families. So I lived in community from the very get-go. So when I came to Plum Village, I'm like, easy peasy. I'm very used to humans. But what I wasn't used to was smiles of humans. And in the house, there was a lot of emotions and mental formations. That's a very Buddhist term. It means a lot of feelings that are suppressed. And when we suppress those feelings, we look for a way to divert our energy. And that was, for my families, it was mostly alcohol. And abuse and domestic violence, to me, it was normal. It was part of everyday life, to the point that I was very good at defending myself at a very young age. And so I came with a lot of baggage without knowing that I had this baggage. And so when I arrived to this place where people were smiling, and I smiled back as a child, you mirror what you see. You mirror your surroundings, right? But then there was something that was going on inside, which was this longing to be embraced. And I remember at breakfast, at the serving tables, I was very small, so these pots and pans were very big and tall, and I couldn't reach the oatmeal. Plum Village was where I discovered oatmeal. Before that, I just knew sugary cereals. And there was just this grown-up in front of me, and he was like, young boy, can I help you? Very simple, can I help you? Naturally, I said, yes, please. But internally, there was a fear of, if you help me, what do you want in return? Because every act of kindness that I receive always needed a return. And for the first time ever, as a child, I felt the feeling of, this is unconditional. This is just help. I see someone that can't get oatmeal, I'm going to help him. That was my meeting of tenderness and care. And it was so fresh and so new, but it was a seed that was very familiar. The Buddha has taught us that we all have many seeds in us, many different potentials. And one of that potential is the ability to grow our love. But every seed needs gardening. It needs cultivating. It needs attention. It needs awareness to offer it the water, to offer it the tending, and the presence. To tend is to offer presence. And when I met that kindness and that love, it wasn't a teaching through words, it wasn't a Dharma talk like this, but it was a teaching through humanity, through being. And throughout the retreat, I met many acts of kindness. And I can see my inner world questioning everything. Is this true? Is this real? What does he want? What does she want? What do they need? So we all have a good podcast in here with many ingredients, many stories, and every interaction we have, our mind generates fear, generates perceptions. And it was in the retreat that I started to learn to surrender. I learned to surrender just to the reality that is in front of me. When someone smiles, I learned to accept that smile. And if I can, I also learn to offer a smile back. It's a very simple act, a smile. We have become so afraid of smiling, and it's become a part of maybe a fear. Is there trust? Is this smile authentic? Or is this smile just a mask? But here, in the teachings of mindfulness, we are learning to see that the smile that we can generate, first of all, is not for others. Is the smile to oneself. The smile that I am here. I am alive. I'm learning to be present, to accept myself, to accept all the flaws that I have, to also accept all of the gifts, the talents, the curiosity that I have in me. Can I smile to my own self? Can I learn to be in touch with my own body and smile to my own body? This is an act of kindness for oneself. And I've learned in my own trainings to truly offer a smile. I've had many moments of disappointment in my own self in the practice. When I started, my birth name was Win Te Nhim, meaning responsibility. So I was very much a perfectionist, and I carried that energy into the Dharma, into the practice. So when I practice, I need to sit upright, solid like a mountain. If I fall asleep, I'm failing. And I was very rigid, very unkind to myself in a way. Because I had a projection that for me to be of service to the world, I have to be happy all the time. And I have to transform all of my suffering. I cannot suffer. Then I can be a wonderful contribution to humanity. And that was a wrong view that I carried because I had a projection, I had an idea about Zen. Zen is to be solid, still, emotionless, ready to be there for all the storms that come. Maybe some of us have this projection about Zen. And it is, in some tradition, that is true. That is a wonderful practice. But in the Plum Village tradition, in Zen, there has to be joy. If you have a chance to look through Thai's little hut in Upper Hamlet here, on top of his bookshelf, he has these 4 words in Chinese. And Thai doesn't keep a lot of gifts. He's a very good giver. He receives and he gives back. So one of the rules of monastics is when we offer a gift, as long as it is aligned to our way, we have to receive it. We cannot say, oh, no, please don't give me. Because that is generosity of someone, so we are receiving someone's generosity. If we push it away, then we're not letting that person practice generosity and practice love. But then from that, then you can then give it away. So Thai was very good. So you receive generosity and you can keep practicing generosity. And you can imagine how many gifts our teacher received. And every time he receives a gift, he would receive it with 2 hands. In our culture, when instead of 1 hand, you always give your full attention, so your 2 hands, so your full awareness that I am receiving this. And Thai would receive it, he would put it beside him. And when the guest leaves, he's like, Phap, please offer this to the community, whomever needs it. But there was one gift. There's a few gifts he kept, but this one gift, he framed it. And it's a calligraphy in 4 Chinese words. And it says, Ting Yu Vi Tuk. And it means, the joy of meditation is daily food. The joy of meditation is daily food. And he looked at me, he said, remember this. Meditation is a kind of food that we practice every day because it's a nutriment. And meditation has to have joy. And when he shared this, he looked at me and he said, Thai is 80-something now. And for Thai to practice meditation this long, and he has maintained it and kept it because there's joy in it. Every time he has a deeper understanding to himself, to his students, to the suffering, to the world, there's a joy there. I understand, I see, wow. When love can grow, that's a joy. When we can be together, that's a joy. When we can be in retreat, that's a joy. And the joy for Thai meaning teacher in Vietnamese, the joy is very deep in Buddhism. joy here is not, it's not embraced by excitement, but joy here leads to then happiness. And joy is the third element of true love in Buddhism. Joy is because there is so much pain and suffering in the world, and we don't ignore that. We're not trying to bypass that. And all of us who are not in war zones, who are not in the state of starvation, of oppression, we have a responsibility to enact, to be activists in our ways of being, to call out, to ask, to demand, to be brave. That was the origin of Plum Village, of Thais wanting to bring Buddhism into everyday life, which then became engaged mindfulness, as he would call it, engaged Buddhism, or later on applied Buddhism. But an element to not burn out and not to lose our deepest aspiration, which is to be of service for humanity. We have to have the nutriment of joy. We all have to discover what that means for us. We have a lot of warriors today, and it's important to have warriors. But as a warrior in the light of Zen, you can be you have to have the meditator as an element of the warrior. And more importantly, you have to have the artist in the warrior. The artist here is not a musician, is not a painter, a sculptor. If you are, beautiful. But our teacher also said, each and every one of us, we have to be an artist in our way of life. We have to identify when we're lacking joy, when we are overwhelmed and suffocating with despair. We have to be creative, intentional, to bring elements of joy in our way of life. Many of us, I see familiar faces. You have, you know of the Plum Village ways, and a lot of it brings a lot of singing into it, right? And I don't know, everyone has a different reaction to singing. Some of us are like, oh, that's so cringe. Or some of it, you know, it's like, is this cult? It's like, is this cultish? Right? It's like, this is so hippie. What the heck did I get myself into? Don't worry, we all had these reactions. But let me tell you where this come from. Imagine yourself in a space, a place. Bombs are dropping. People are dying. And it looks like there is no end to this suffering. And we don't have to look far. And around us, that feeling of hopelessness is one of the greatest kryptonite of ours. It will drag us into the deepest pit of despair. And a teacher comes along and is still able to see the blue sky, the little flowers that are still surviving from all the destruction, a tree that is still standing firmly, human beings that are still besides him. And so that teacher, by embracing his pain and his despair, writes poetry about life, writes poetry about hope, writes poetry about the wonders of life, even in the midst of suffering. And then these poetry become songs and anthems to keep us going, to remind us of the other truths that are still present. And it's harder to touch, but we have to use deeper our mindfulness, our expansiveness of the dimension that we are in. And this is where the songs come from. And at one point in Vietnam, Thai had 10,000 activists with him. They didn't have the language of activists at that time. And he said each week we have to take one day, and we call that day a day of mindfulness, where we come together, we listen to a teaching, or we read a scripture, we read poetry, we learn to come back to our own body, to know that we are alive, to know that we have to take care of ourselves also. Because in Buddhism, the teaching of interbeing has to be threaded throughout all of engagement. So to serve the world, we have to have ourselves. We have to be aware of our wellness, of our being. And then in that day of mindfulness, we don't speak about the war, we don't speak about the destruction, not because we're trying to escape it, so that our nervous system has an opportunity to also regain its stability and balance. And one of the biggest thread that was missing was joy. And Thai would then invite the artists in the community to sing songs, to play the guitar, to create a bonfire, just to be together, just to remember why we are doing what we do. So this is where the music comes from. The music as an anthem, as a thread to remind us of the meanings of life. So when the next time you sing some of these songs, maybe today, before walking in Dharma's discussion, but if you actually read the lyrics, they're all very deep wisdom of life. One song alone can be your mantra for the rest of your life. There's this new song that I picked up this year, and it was offered to me during an artist retreat, and I think it met me at the right moment, and it goes like this: what am I rushing for? What am I rushing towards? Slow down, and savor. Very simple, just 3-4 lines. What am I rushing for? What am I rushing toward? What am I rushing for? What am I rushing toward? Slow down, and savor. Slow savor. What am I rushing for? What am I rushing towards? What am I rushing for? What am I rushing towards? Slow down, slow down, and savor. Slow down, slow down. One more time. What am I rushing for? What am I rushing toward? What am I rushing for? What am I rushing towards? Slow down, slow down, and savor. Slow down, slow down, and savor. Slow down. There's many things that we aspire to do, and many of it is very noble. To be a part of the transformation of our worlds, to change the system, to shine light to the suffering and the pain. But it's very easy to be distracted by the outcome and just to look for success at the end of the road. And if we fall into that trap, we will give up life. We won't know how to be truly present. When I reflect back on my education and look at the projection of majority of our mainstream way of life, go to school, get degrees, get a career, find a partner, have a family, go to work, burn out. That's the trajectory. And I can share with you, I have a lot of data for this, because the thousands of people that come to Plum Village shares with us this data. And that is the majority of the way we the mainstream way have given us what it means to be successful. And Buddhism comes in and it tells you, you are enough. Buddhism comes in and tells you, slow down and savor. What are we trying to savor here? We're trying to savor this present moment. We're trying to savor the youth that we have. We're trying to be engaged in what it means to be alive, what it means to have the questions that we have, the curiosity, even the pain and the suffering. None of that is an error in our path of practice. They all need to arise, and a practitioner, the difference with us as a practitioner is we shine the light of our attention, of our awareness, to see it, to embrace it, to acknowledge it, and then to understand it. As I have shared at the very beginning, to understand is to love. And understanding in Buddhism is prajna. It is insight. It is to see through. And prajna is a source of energy. It gives us the meaning to move forward. When I discovered that I was always putting my happiness in the success of a retreat, I would be miserable on arrival day. Here comes everybody. Are we ready? Da, 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 da. The mind creates all the worries. Then I have to give a talk. I get anxious. I have butterflies. Then I live 24 hours with that worrying. And then just in a blink of the eye, the retreat is over. And then I see and I hear from the people that experience the retreat, the joy and the transformation they touch. And I'm like, what about my transformation? Where's my joy? We are the ones who are hosting and offering. And isn't this not my retreat also? Isn't this not also a part of my journey, my mindfulness trainings? And then suddenly I started to unlearn. I unlearned to look for happiness at the end, on day 7 or day 8, whatever that day is. But to always come back to this moment, these moments. So before coming here, I have a little bit of anxiety. But then I reminded myself that when I'm with everyone here, I will receive back from all of your energy, and I will be able to give it. And that is a practice of surrendering, of letting go. I already prepared a few notes that I thought, put it down, and then it enters into my stored consciousness. And then I could spend the next 48 hours worrying about it, rehearsing it in my mind, already judging myself, criticizing myself, or I can know that I've already prepared it, and I'm going to trust. I'm just going to let it be, and when I come in, I enter into the mode of offering. And then the next 48 hours is still so rich, it's so beautiful. I met my Dharma family yesterday, the family of freedom. And because I wasn't worrying about this Dharma talk, I could be fully present. And all of these practices, after 24 years of practice, it all comes back to two words: present moment, the foundation of life, where we are truly alive. Our teacher always jokes with us. He says, you have an appointment with life, and it's every minute. And that appointment is right here, right now. And most of us will miss that appointment. And some of us only meet that appointment when we're on the deathbed. When we ask the big questions, what have I done? Where is my life now? So the teachings of the Buddha is for us to answer this appointment in every moment. And the thread of our training here is in the word mindfulness. In Chinese and classical Chinese and Vietnamese, the word present moment, the word mindfulness, it has two sets of character, the top and the bottom. And the top here, in Sino-Vietnamese, we pronounce it Kim. And Kim means the present moment. And the second character is heart or our mind. And to be mindful is to bring the mind or the heart directed, taking refuge in the present moment. Very interesting when I was learning Vietnamese in Plum Village that the word, we don't really have the word, we don't use the word mind a lot. We always use the word heart. And heart in Vietnamese, it also means the mind, tâm. So the present moment is the destination of all Buddhas. It is the destination of all bodhisattva. It is the destination of all practitioners. Because in the present moment, it is where we get to be in touch with our own body. The first foundation of mindfulness is the body itself. The Buddha himself, on the path of discovery, of finding the way, was very harsh on himself. He was looking for enlightenment, and he went to very extreme practices, and he went to a period of asceticism practice. And in that practice of asceticism, he was very violent to his own body. He discovered how violent he was becoming to his own body. And in a meditation, when he touched that, this body here is a gift. It's a gift of the whole cosmos that have come together. Our parents, our ancestors, the food, the sun, the trees, the animals, and human beings were part of this ecosystem of the environment. And this practice of harming the body, to suffer in order to find enlightenment, he discovered that that was a wrong action. And he broke free from that. And the first thing he did was to go look for nutriments. From this insight, the Buddha taught about the middle path. That in the path of practice, we have to have a kind of discipline, a kind of regular practice, but also the flexibility to engage, to be flexible with what manifests in front of us. And a part of our practice here is to see that mindfulness doesn't just belong on a cushion, doesn't belong in formal practices, but mindfulness could and should and shall be cultivated in formal practices and then brought and engaged into everyday action. Just like the way we walk through the door, the way we put on our shoes, the way we take a cup of water, a cup of tea, how we engage with one another. All of these day-to-day things, very mundane, in the eye of a practitioner, they can all be very sacred moments. If you have ever sat with someone who is so present, and you don't have to say much, but that moment of drinking that cup of tea together can be so sacred. It's so simple, just drinking a cup of tea. Because in that moment, two human beings are fully present, fully aware, and are there for one another. And that is a communication that is beyond words. In this retreat, we won't have a chance to talk to everyone. So please, if that's your aim, please scrap that. But you will be meeting everyone through just seeing, just encountering, just walking past. And through that meeting, through that engagement, that is a meeting, that is an engagement. Can you meet that person with your full presence? For us, when we join our palms together, it represents our body and our mind coming home to the body, coming home to the present moment. And so when I bow to you, I bowing with my whole presence to you. And I am seeing you as who you are in this moment. And that's a practice. Because we are also having a lot of perceptions. Perceptions create judgment. And so when we meet someone, we may be meeting our own thinking, not meeting the person. So in this retreat, it is a practice, continuous practice of presence, meeting, and how do we see one another? Can we look at that person with just our full awareness and say, lovely to see you. I had years being my teacher's assistant. And when I look back at one of the characteristics, I wonder why I got to be his attendant for so long. Because every monastic had a chance to be trained as an attendant. And I reflected and I said, I was very lucky that I was a very simple person. So when I was with Thai, I never asked him a question. The only question I would ask him is, how would you like your tea, Thai? Or, when is your meal so I can schedule it with the attendants that are cooking? And the rest of the time, I was just with him. We would sit together for hours in deep silence. And when I reflected back, I really realized that I don't really have a question for the Zen master. Because what other questions could I ask when I am just sitting right beside him? And fortunately, that I discovered that gave Thai a lot of space for him to just be who he is. And a part of that is also just being a teacher, but also being a human being with flaws. We would goof around sometimes. Thai would tell me stories of his childhood and so on. But I remember if I was to always ask him questions, then I wouldn't be able to meet that side of Thai. So in my learning of the present moment, one of the biggest cultivation of mindfulness that continues to be a strength is deep listening. The power of deep listening. And deep listening is mindfulness itself, is how we show up, is when we are with one another. When I hear someone share something, my mind is very quick to react, to find a solution, to have an answer. And I have to unlearn. I said, no, just listen. Just listen, just to hear this person. And I can share it with you. It's very difficult for me because in my position, sometimes I have a lot of questions come my way. And the first thing I have to do is look for a solution. And that has become autopilot. That has become a way of being, a way of doing, actually. And the deeper practice of the present moment is to be more alive, to be more present. In this retreat, you're going to have one day. It's called Lazy Day. And Thai wrote about Lazy Day as the day to not do, but to be. He said, we're very good doers, but we're not very good beers. Because when we're alive, we think we have to do. So on Lazy Day, I'm going to meet this person, I'm going to meet that person, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Suddenly, your whole Lazy Day becomes the most busiest day of the retreat. So this is a warning. Let the day unfold itself. Let it manifest. If a soccer match, football match appears and you feel you're itchy, put on shoes, go for it. If you hear someone singing and you need that melody, just come and sit by. If you want a day to just sit in silence, the meditation hall is here for you. If you want to spend more time in the forest, in nature, nature is always present for you. Learn to listen to the body, to the heart in the body. This is a good antidote for FOMO, fear of missing out. So we have to have JOMO, the joy of missing out. Because when you are fully there for yourself, you're not missing anything. You are fully present for the present moment. So the practice and the art of mindfulness is, in a way, the art of love, the power of love. And first of all, we learn to come back to the body, like I shared. We may be very alienated from our own body. And the first breath is to be aware of the in-breath, out-breath. And we train this collectively. Whenever we hear the sound of the bell, we all pause. And we all learn to savor our in-breath, our out-breath. Being aware of our body, is there tension there? Is there a reaction that I need to be aware of? And this is a training for you to listen to your body. The more you know how to listen to your body, the more you will know how to show up. And you will know how to regulate yourself to be fully present. So don't call it basic. I call it fundamental. Coming home to the body is the highest practice. And then that is, we can call that, I'm forgetting the technical language. mere recognition. There it is. We recognize what is there. Ah, I have a body, I have a breath. Oh, what feelings are being present, calling it by its name. And then to go deeper, because our mindfulness, when we are fresh in this practice, it is not yet sustained. So we want to sustain it. So we have practices to deepen our concentration. So then our second practice of mindful breathing, it is just to fully take refuge in the in-breath and the out-breath. When the in-breath is there, you have mere recognition, this is in-breath, this is mindfulness already. And then the second practice with the in-breath and out-breath is you stay with it, sustain your concentration. Your mind will want to think, okay, what's next after this, da-da-da, da-da-da. No, you're gonna train your mind to just stay with the in-breath and the out-breath. We call this concentration. You are listening to your breath fully. You're training your mind to be fully present. You learn to tame your mind, to guide your mind to a concentration. So this is the second exercise of mindful breathing. The third exercise, we turn now to the body, becoming aware of the whole body, seeing the body, feeling the body. And the fourth practice is to relax the body, to give it the attention it needs, the care it needs. And the body for us is holy, is sacred in our language. It is where all of the lineage of our ancestors have come together, has given us this body. We are a stream of continuation, as well as we are a transmitter to the next generation. Our actions of body, speech, and mind. In Buddhism, we call this the three karmas, the three actions that we generate every day. What we are thinking, what we are saying, what we are doing. And what we are saying here is not just in the speech that we speak, but also in what we write, what we message. These all have our signature, and they are our continuation. They go beyond time and space. So a thought is already an action. So when you come home to the body, you can be in touch with these three actions also present in the body. And why do we emphasize so much on coming home to the body? It is because this is where we can truly be in touch with the wonder of life, as well as the pain of life, the suffering of life. Because as a body, we can interbe with the suffering of others. We can feel their agony and their pain. And this is where, as humanity, is one of the bridges, the feeling that allows us to interbe with one another, to help us to break free and unlearn our discriminative mindset. In a way, Zen is a lot about unlearning, to learn again. So when we come back to the present moment, if there is a past that arises, a story of the past that arises, you don't have to push it away, say, oh, no, present moment. You can embrace the past in the present moment. What is the story that is coming up? Why is it calling for my attention today? Is this story still applicable today? Can I let go of the stories? The title has the power of love. In Buddhism, we speak about three powers. The first power is understanding. The second power, it is compassion. And the third power, it is letting go. Letting go here is letting go of maybe the desires, the thought that will bring us happiness. Are we sure? Are you sure that that will give you happiness? We can reflect, we can check in. Are the stories that we are carrying inside of us who we really are? Is our suffering of 8 years old, 7 years old, still who we are today? And when we listen deeply, we can find an answer. Thầy used to give us practices to look at a photo when we were very young and to ask us, are we the same or are we different? In that child and now, are we the same or are we different? And if you say you're different, that's a wrong answer. And if you say you're the same, that's a wrong answer. So when the Zen master asks a question, don't answer. 101 right there. Just listen. Say, I will contemplate Thai. And the intention is when we look at the photo of who we were and who we are today, the answer of a Zen master would say, you are neither the same nor you are different. Everything that you have experienced as a 5-year-old, as a 6-year-old, you still carry some part of that in you. But you are not only that child. You are the 37-year-old brother today. And in this 37-year-old being, you are still transforming some of the wounds, some of the pain that that child had received. And you are teaching that inner child the new way of being, the way of courage and strength, the ability to smile to the fears that he still has, the ability to be in wonder of the unknown, the ability to still have questions, to be curious, and the ability to know that you have so much potential. And I share this because this was my own journey. This was my own journey in reconciliation. I had a lot of unknown baggage. And what happens in the practice is you start to see them. And when you start to see them, you're like, holy macaroni, you got a lot of shit here. And we gotta transform them. We gotta turn them into nutriments to care for the garden, to tend to the garden. And because if you don't tend to it, if you don't transform them, these wounds, you will project it back out. I have this, this is a very present moment story of in the summer retreat. And we finished the summer retreat about 2 weeks ago now. And in Plum Village, Upper Hamlet, can you believe we hosted more than 3,000 people for 3 weeks, non-stop. And we had bodies of teenagers come through. And they were my greatest teaching this year, my greatest teachers this year. We had the famous second week of the summer. I was looking at some of the teen brothers. We had an incident where bullying became present in the monastery. And when I was reported that in the teen camp, there became 3 camps. The ones that are not involved and don't really care. And then the one that is aggressive. And the one that is receiving the aggression. And when I heard that, my heart cracked. I said, how could bullying manifest in Plum Village? For me, this place is so sacred. It should be the foundation of love. There's no space for this. And I got very angry. Very upset also. And it reached to the point where I was brought in to do a deep listening for the two sides of the teens. And when this was activated in me, my biased side, I leaned towards the victims, quote unquote victims, or the one that received it. And I wanted to fight for them. And then I put the banner of bullies on this group. And that was the first thing that came to my mind. And then, as I was preparing to sit with them at 7 p.m., and I did a long walk from the linen tree all the way to the monk's residence where we meet them. And every step I took, I said, be open. Be open. They are kids. They are kids. They're ignorant. They're ignorant. They deserve love. They deserve love. They deserve to be listened to. They deserve to be listened to. They deserve to be cared for. They deserve to be cared for. And this is to all of them, not just one side. And when I arrived, I told the group, I don't know what the outcome will be, but we're going to have an outcome. And the first practice, we're just going to learn to listen to each other. When one person shares, and the parents were there also. When one person shares, all of us, we're going to listen together. We're going to share what we've heard, what we've experienced, and what we are practicing right now. And all sides share. And all sides listen to one another. And you can see both sides reacting in the body. When they get tense, that means they don't agree. First foundation of mindfulness, deep listening. As a facilitator, those of you who are a facilitator, learn the art of listening and seeing. You can learn so much on how to navigate a group. Use the breathing to bring everyone back together. So before we started, I guided them in some deep breathing together to generate awareness of the body, to generate the presence so that we can listen. And every time after a hard sharing, come back to some breathing, invite the other side to share. Long story short is the beautiful outcome was they didn't agree of what has happened. But what they agreed is on the two boys that were receiving the harshness at one point. I asked them, if we invite this teen out of the program, that means we kick him out of the program. What would that offer you and all of us? And one of them said, in my mind, it will offer some kind of justice. But in my heart, I know not much. This is from a teenager, huh? His own insight. And I said, exactly. So when I listen to the both of you, I see your understanding and your love, even though you're not saying it, for this other boy. And I shared to them because I'm feeling more biased towards you guys, and my practice is not to be. because I have been on the receiving end of a lot of bullying. And if there was one thing that I wished for the bullies that were in my life, was to be offered a second chance, was to be offered some people that knew how to guide them, how to shine the light back to them, so that they can be aware of their actions. Wouldn't that be great? I asked them. And they agreed. Whether it was reluctant or it was insight in them, there was a reality that they realized that even if we remove this boy from this program, it won't really do much. And that outcome allowed this other boy to be present in the whole program till the end. And what we also witnessed was then on the receiving end, because they have received those aggression, at one point they became aggressive too. You see the circle of samsara, the circle of action. And we got to witness this live television coming from Upper Hamlet of suffering, transmission of suffering. The exact two boys that received the aggression at the end had very aggressive energy. It was a very interesting week for all of us. One of my biggest takeaway that I was able to touch in my own insight was to embrace both the aggressor and the one receiving the aggression, and still to practice and seeing him as a human being. Right away, my mind gave him a label. He's a bully. I don't want to look at him. I don't want to see him. I hope he gets kicked out. I'm being transparent with all of you. But then the deeper, thanks to the presence and the practice of understanding, when I actually listened to that young boy, it was just a moment of ignorance. It was just a moment of being a teenager. The words, the society that they have soaked in, the aggression that they have received, it just reenacts itself. And it just needs a few conditions and boom, voila, the painting comes out. But beyond that moment, he is much more than that. I felt his fear, I touched his fear, and I touched his hope of wanting to still be loved, to still be seen. And on the last day, when they were all leaving, I prepared some gift, because 3 of them, it was their first time in Plum Village, and this was their retreat. And so I gave them a calligraphy, no mud, no lotus. And I prepared for the ones on the receiving end to give them the gift. But then I saw the other one. And my first thought was, he doesn't deserve a gift. But then as I was sitting there, I was like, you have to practice inclusiveness. That's the 4th element of love. So I went up to him and I said, the retreat we never know what can manifest in a retreat. And I am sure you didn't imagine this kind of experience. But it is what it is, and I hope that you have touched something deeply in you, and that you have learned about the power of actions and the karma of actions, and that you can still also be loved and have so much potential. So I have a gift for you. Open it when you're home. And the boy, from his own initiative, opened his arm and gave me a hug. And I was so rigid. And then I softened. I was rigid because I wouldn't imagine being able to embrace bulliers. And that has been my own journey of courage and healing. And when he hugged me, I felt like something really shifted in me. And there was a reconciliation that I had in my stories of who I was and what I've experienced in life. And after I hugged him, I said, I wish you a wonderful continuation. And he said, brother, maybe next year I'll be back. Let's go. And his father was next by. And I felt that hug was also very healing for his father. Because I can see the father crying and healing himself in this whole journey of the 1 week. Listening is to understand. Listening is to see beyond the labels, to see beyond the projections that we give to one another. In the community of Plum Village here, that is our continuous practice. We're continuing to learn to love one another as one family. It's not easy. Naturally, some people you feel more aligned with, you feel more connected to, and some people you just feel like, you don't even know them, but your perception is like, I don't like this person. Right? And it's okay, it's human beings. But what we're going to train as a meditator is, Thai has this calligraphy, are you sure? Are your projections sure? Is this just the mind painting an image of a reality that is not really there? Like I said, our mind are podcaster. They create a new episode at every encounter. So to listen, and you listen to your mind, you listen to your judgment, and you say, I see you, but are you sure? Because are you sure gives you the opportunity to ask new questions, to look and to see and to encounter and to be in the present moment. The present moment is the embodiment of the past, the present, and the future. It is also the embodiment of all things that we could experience and to have insight. In our 2 wings of meditation that please practice during this week, the first wing is learning to stop, learning to slow down. Stopping and looking deeply. Stopping is also the art of resting, of slowing down to listen to ourselves, to heal ourselves. Then we look deeply at what arises in us. One time, our teacher would say, sit under a tree and allow yourself to arrive at stillness, at ease, and then write all of the conditions of joy and happiness you have in this moment. Very simple practice. And you would write it down. To you, what is authentic joy and happiness? And then look deeply at it. Where do they come from? Why do they bring you joy? Why does something so simple like this gives you so much energy? and you start to understand yourself deeper. Only when we listen to ourselves and listen to our suffering can we also unlock and transform our suffering and unlearn it. One of the things I love was growing up, I love violent movies. I grew up with a lot of martial art films. I went to martial arts taekwondo academies and everything. And because I needed to protect, that's why I loved it. And now, as a monk, it's a path of nonviolence. And asking myself, when I see a clip of martial arts, what does it bring up for me? Right? And for me, hey, very honest, don't put this on YouTube, it's to show off. It's only to show off. It's because I can do that kick. And a part of the showing off is to be seen, to be accepted, to be part of the cool kids. And I'm like, that's where you're from. All right, I need a new mantra for that. And my new mantra, I told somebody yesterday in my office, I was like, I'm a really boring person now. And I'm accepting that I could be very boring. And it's true. There's so many times, I don't like, I want to be boring. I just want to sit there and look at a cup of tea. The 13-year-old boy would never do that. But I would discover, you can discover yourself as you grow in this path. What are the old things that are still there? And what are the new antidotes for it? They co-arise. Our teacher always says, suffering and joy, the two of them co-arise. So looking deeply, stopping. Please give yourself permission to slow down in this retreat. One challenge. At least one day in this retreat, sit under a tree without headphones, without a companion, and just sit there. Be in touch with the root, the tree. Listen to yourself. Ask a question. What is my deepest desire? What is a desire that I would like to put my energy into? An aspiration. That's one question we can ask. If that's too much of a question, we can ask, what are the conditions of happiness that I have in this moment? What are the sufferings that I am encountering I can see? You can write it down. Sit under the tree and then learn to rest in nature. Let the tree embrace the stories that you have. You know, when Tai died, I talked to the trees more than I talked to my brothers and sisters. Because as a human, grief is very vulnerable, and you have projection. I had projection. I didn't want others to see my longing, my weaknesses. And I listened to one of the teachings of Thai, and he said, sometimes go talk to a tree. I did. And the tree doesn't talk back. But the tree listens. And when I can speak to the tree, I can listen to myself. The only place that you won't be judged and be weird is Plum Village when you do these practices. Maybe in the park, Central Park, New York, maybe different story. But here, we are given permission to slow down. We're given permission to listen to ourselves, to ask some questions. In one of our habits that we have collectively, and it's no one's fault, it's just the stream of life, is the rushing and hurrying. And if we can give ourselves permission to all be a little bit more gentle with our steps, to be a little bit more gentle with our actions here, especially now where, for me, power, leadership, it needs a lot of softness. It needs a lot of tenderness and vulnerability. For a long time, power was shaped with a lot of strength, knowing the louder you are, the better. And I discovered personally for me that is not the whole truth of leadership. That's not the whole truth of power. One of the greatest power is to be gentle. Gentleness is one of the elements of kindness. I measure my practice with not how long I can sit. I measure my practice is how kind I am today. And there are days I can't be kind. I'm too overwhelmed. And I know that when my mind is cannot extend itself, gets irritated very easily, gets annoyed. And so I want to take care of that. I want to be kind to that. I give myself space. And then there are days when my love is very expansive. I can be anywhere, to be honest. And I can learn to regulate my body to be fully present. I can learn to look with the eyes of kindness. That's the first mantra that we say. Waking up this morning, 24 brand new hours are before me. I smile. That's a challenge. You know, that line itself, Thai says, is you're alive anew. You're one day alive. And when we sleep, the gatha of impermanence, the day is ending, what have I done? That's a contemplation. Because you're dying every day. You cannot take back yesterday. But then the wonder of waking up is you're being alive. You're being reborn today. 24 brand new hours are present for you. And the last line of it is, I vow to look at all beings with the eyes of compassion. That's a lifetime practice. That's a northern star. We don't have to arrive there to be happy, okay? But if our kindness can evolve a little bit every day, or sometimes it shrinks and it doesn't stay there. It shrinks because sometimes you need to take one step back to retreat, to take 2 steps forward later. So there's no such thing as failure in the practice. When I met my crisis in this path, I thought I was failing. And I judged myself. I was very mean to myself. I didn't ask for help. I didn't know how to take refuge in a community because I was judging myself that I practiced for so long. Why can't I overcome this moment? And actually, now that I look back, I was like, thanks to the practice, I was able to acknowledge that I was in a crisis. I didn't let my arrogance lead me to think that I was okay. Actually, I was able to touch the weakness that I was in to ask for help. And that was a very difficult ask, to ask for help. And because I was able to ask for help, I was able to open my mask a little bit to look at my own self. Not the mask that I project to the world, but it's a mask that I have given to my own self. And only when you meet your suffering can you grow. And the last story I want to tell you is one day I felt like I've overcome something very profound. And I went and I told Thai. I told Thai about my fruit of practice. And I was expecting Thai to congratulate me, to give me a pat in the back and say, "You did it, my student." And I was rehearsing the story. I was like, how do I make this grand? But then when I met Thai, I was like a little pebble. And then I told him the fruit of my practice, which was overcoming a fear. And Thai just looked at me and he said, "That's why you practice." I was so defeated. I'm like, "Thai, you were supposed to congratulate me." All he said is, "That's why you practice." When you meet the Zen master, let go of your stories. And I'm very grateful for that. Because if Thai said, "Yeah, you did it," I would have been attached to that moment. And then now that I'm in that crisis, I would have felt I'm a great failure. And that line, that quote, "And this is why we practice," was my life jacket. So when we think that we are in reverse in our practice, this is why you practice. Come back to the fundamental. Come back to the practice of breathing, sitting, walking, taking refuge in the collective energy. I share this because a lot of us have been coming here for many years. And sometimes we may think we come to learn something new. Actually, a sangha a retreat is just to continue to enhance our being, to re-nourish ourselves, to re-empower ourselves with our own ability of love, our own ability of understanding, our ability of looking deeply. In our retreats, we have noble silence. Let us really practice this and savor the silence, how noisy the world is and how noisy our mind can be. And the silence is to give us permission to hear what it is inside of us. It may be scary at first, but the silence can be very delicious. And if you need longer silence, you can have a sign saying, "Noble silence." Some of us, maybe in a retreat like this, we may feel like it's a conference, so we want to meet everybody, we want to engage. You can resist from that a little bit. Just offer yourself silence and just being. Or you can just offer the meeting with one another with a smile. And that's also enough. To know one another is first of all just to see one another. And when we see one another, truly our dialogues, our communication will become very profound in its natural way. So noble silence, I think in the retreat we have one day, it's like half a day of silence where we all will practice together. And then sitting. Sitting is an art. Sit there and do nothing. It's one of the greatest challenges today. And our facilitator brothers, please offer our friends, those of us who are new in the sitting posture, some adjustments and some guidance if there is a need. Our next activity will be a walking meditation, so our brothers will share more about that in the art of enjoying every step that we take. And just the last thing I want to share is I have arrived, I am home. It's the first Dharma seal of Plum Village. And maybe the question of where are you from is a very difficult question. But where are you from in our language here is not the destination of where you're living. And our answer, Thai's answer, is our true home is the present moment. Our true home is our body. Our true home is everything that we can embrace and experience here. And this comes from a man that was exiled from his own country. And his deep discovery of true home is not in a land that you call it Vietnam, or you call it France, or you call it Germany, or Belgium, America. Our true home is where we can truly be who we are. We have the ability to accept, to recognize, and to walk this path. That's our true home. And that's a journey that we all will walk on. It's a journey of many, many years. As our teacher would say, it's a whole lifetime. But we can keep discovering it. And the practice is not to be calculated by how long we sit, how much wisdom we can share. It is how deep we can be. The art of being is the power of love. Thank you, dear beloved community, for being here with us and co-being in this retreat. Let us listen to 3 sound of the bell to end our practice together.